winner of that was Capital Lakes Rowing Club from Australia. Then moving on to race 128, that was a win from Sydney University Boat Australia, which was 5 minutes and 54 seconds. Then race 129, still on the championship singles, was won by Cambridge University Women's Boat Club with 6 minutes, 4 lengths ahead. And now on to the aspirational boats with boat 130, which was a win by Molessi Boat Club, which was 5 minutes and 28 seconds. And then next was race 131 with Reading University Boat Club, winning that easily with a 5 minutes and 34 seconds. And finally, race 132 was a win by Bath University Boat Club and with Minerva Bath Rowing Club, which was won with a 5 minutes and 28 seconds.
Thanks very much for that, Izzy. The next race up, race 134, Junior 8, Green Lake B and Emmanuel School. Green Lake are on the Berkshire station. Emmanuel School towards the middle of the river have a lead at the moment of about a quarter of a length. The umpire was busy with his flag and the crews have moved apart. Plenty of noise in the eights. We can hear them coming towards where we're commentating from, and you can hear the supporters as well as the coxes barking instructions.
That's a good lead on the Buckinghamshire side, but they can't relax yet because the Berkshire station is still right on them, still pushing forward every stroke.
Yeah, Green Lake, the B crew, they're probably 3/4 of a length down, but as you say, they're being urged on by their cox as they move away from us. Emmanuel right out in the middle of the river there.
Emmanuel certainly can't relax at this stage as Green Lake is still right on their tail there. There's still a lot to play for in this. 8's quite fast moving boats, so they could just put on that extra bit of power and just keep on pushing up and take Emmanuel School by surprise. They've still got a decent amount of the race left to go. Both the crews, though, actually, from our camera angles here, you can see have some really good technique, which is nice to see, obviously, but all of them are taking really long strokes, which is really helping to move the boats through and down the water, and they're just coming up past all the spectators now. Emmanuel School seem to be taking much further a lead. They've nearly clear of Green Lake B. I'll be very happy with this to see.
And the result of the last batch of those aspirational quads was that it was a win for Imperial College Boat Club. The distance was 2 lengths and the time was 5:31. So heat of the Junior 8s. Sees Emmanuel pushing out now to just over a length over Green Lake B.
And bearing in mind that this is Green Lake's B crew, they're putting in a really good competition against Emmanuel School, given that this will be the second 8 for their school. So it's good to see that they've got such a strong crew that are competing here. It's not in many schools that they have enough people to be able to get 2 8s out. So to have 2 competitive 8s and their B crew doing so well at Henley Women's is a really impressive thing to be able to see.
Yeah, just looking here to see if we've got any information on these crew. There's Emmanuel now with what's probably approaching about a length and a half's lead. There is no race 135, so the next group of races will be the championship pairs. which sees Lady Eleanor Hollis up against Newcastle University, Leander against Maidstone Invicta, Worcester Rowing Club against Imperial College, Tideway Scullers School A, and Cambridge University Women. The next race due to go off at midday. Closing stages then of race number 134. Emmanuel School across the line.
They're looking very happy.
Girls, yep, congratulating themselves. That's a job well done there. Green Lake B just coming into shot. Now, so that was race number 134. Down at the start. Waiting patiently. There's the umpire launch in position. Next race due to go off at midday. Championship pairs. They've got about a minute or so. And all nice and calm. It is Lady Eleanor Hollis. As I say, it says the umpire looks down the course. So nearest to us on the Berkshire station, it will be LEH, Lady Eleanor Hollis Boat Club. And on the far side, it is the championship pair of Newcastle University. And they are off bang on time, midday, second day of Henley Women's Regatta 2018. Lady Eleanor Hollis, Newcastle University. And approaching the top of the island, it's LEH that have got themselves in front, being warned by the umpire. It's Newcastle being told to get back onto their station.
And the interesting fact for this is that the LEH girls are sisters, so Gemma and Catherine King are rowing together today, so not some sibling rivalry, as they must be rowing well together. They've won bronze at the National Schools Regatta and finished 5th in the tier pairs at the Met, so a strong crew, I think. The girls must row extremely well together. I'm not sure I could say I would row that well with my sibling, but you know.
It's fairly common, isn't it? You get siblings sculling and pairing together. There we go, the overhead shot there showing LEH now with a lead of just about a length.
That's it. It's a really nice lead they've got there. They've really pushed away in those first few strokes, and it's a nice lead for them, and they'll be able to start to just relax slightly, but not too much, as that Newcastle crew will definitely pick up any weakness that they can find. But so far it looks like LEH are definitely the more stronger crew in this race. They look to be keeping their position up front all the way down the course.
And the umpire flag out again now, encouraging LEH to move over, stay to their own side of the river. So these races often require a bit of input from the umpire, and you can just hear her now giving some instruction to keep the crews separated, safe and on their own side of the river. But it's LEH moving away from us, that got a lead now of a couple of lengths.
Yeah, still really pulling away. Both crews, however, slightly iffy steering, a lot of going into the centre or the sides, but it's difficult in a pair. It's quite an unbalanced boat anyway, and so getting that steering right is just adding to the pressure whilst you're trying to go as fast as you can and get to the finish line first. But they're having a good crack at it, and LEH definitely showing their strength in this crew.
And we're fairly lucky with the weather so far. Not too windy, although this stretch of the Thames does get a bit busy with boats, so it can be a bit bobbly, and it's not easy to steer these pairs or keep them going in a straight line. But the wind is very, very light, so it shouldn't really affect them. And there you can see LEH, they're not letting up. They're determined to put in a good time here by the look of it.
Yeah, they're definitely not relaxing at all. They're keeping on pushing all the way. They're approaching, getting towards the end of their race now, but they're still pushing all the way, whereas in other races we've seen, once the crew's definitely in front, they've just started to relax and just make sure they keep themselves just ahead, but not sort of going all out, putting everything into it, because they've still got many more races to go after this, potentially. But LEH don't seem to be taking that approach today.
Well, Lady Eleanor Hollis with a comfortable lead there heading towards the finish. They will meet the winners of the next race, which is race 137. This championship pairs. It's Leander Club and Maidstone Invicta. Leander are on the Berkshire station nearest the bank. Maidstone Invicta over on the far side. And the umpire is warming up his megaphone, giving instructions, just trying to keep these crews apart. And it's the pair from Leander who presently have their boat in front. A bit of drastic steering there from Maidstone Invicta. That's played into Leander's hands, and they're about half a length up.
Now, the Leander crew of Natasha Harris-White and Laura Merridew, they were winners of the Ghent, both in the women's pairs and the women's 8. Harris-White raced at the GB trials, finishing 9th overall, and Merridew made the final of the senior sculls at last year's Henley Women's. So certainly a strong crew coming up from Leander. They'll be looking to put some real power down on this course, but the
Maidstone crew have just had a bit of a mishap there. They steered very close to the booms, managed to avoid the upright, but they're going again into the booms, and yeah, they have had a problem there. Did it once, and the second time they've done it, that's completely stopped them. So it's passing us in the commentary position. It is Leander. They can relax. Wide down. Maidstone have got themselves going again. They just need to straighten up.
It's a terrible shame for the Maidstone, as it's both of it's their first time at Henley Women's Regatta, so it's a shame to have had that in their race. But they're putting a good fight in. They've got themselves going, and they're going back down the course full pace. They're not giving up. They're gonna keep going right until the end, which I think is the way to take it when something like that happens. You've trained so hard for it, so you might as well just keep going and give it your best shot.
Yeah, and to be fair to the umpire there, he didn't want to see them crash again, so he gave them due warning that they were heading off into the booms again, going off into the distance. It is Leander Club. They've wound right down now. Maidstone Invicta. Okay, well, they're safely heading away from us and down towards the finish. And you can see Leander in the distance. Maidstone, they're relaxing now, and their steering has improved.
I
think for them the race is pretty much done.
Yeah, it just goes to show what the nerves can do on the day of a big race like this. It obviously means a lot to all the competitors involved. They want to be producing the best results, and sometimes it's just nerves and inexperience on the course can just let you down on the day, which is a real shame for a crew.
So LEH, winners of the midday race, will go through, and Byron Disaster, it will be Leander Club that they will meet in race 3-2-3. It's now Worcester and Imperial College just off. Worcester nearest to the towpath. Imperial College over on the far side.
So the Worcester Rowing Club pairing of Elizabeth Johnson and Caroline Shepherd were members of the senior women's four that reached the quarterfinals at Henley last year. So they've been on the course before, and at the Metropolitan Regatta this year, they were the runners-up in the Tier 3 women's pairs. So had a good competition this year. Been down at Henley last year, not in a pair. So it'll be a new experience for them racing it not in a four. However, it should be an exciting race for them.
And they were getting a bit close together there. The umpire had warned Imperial to move over. Interestingly enough, it was Worcester who put in the big swerve, as it were. Imperial did move over slightly, but Worcester wanted to get well out of trouble. So the crews, having been almost overlapping at one point, they've now moved apart, and it's Worcester that have the advantage.
Yeah, Worcester seem to really be pushing ahead, but that Imperial crew is very strong. They are another crew to watch with the Alex Stonehill and Joanna Toms. These two were both with the bow pair of the very strong women's 8 at the head of the river that finished third. And this season, as a women's pair, they have a 5th place at the Metropolitan Regatta. So they've definitely got some experience of rowing together. They've been together quite a while, rowing in an 8 as bow pair. Definitely a strong position to have together. So, and it's a really tight race, actually. We've not had a very tight one for the
no championship pairs so far. The other two races were pretty much done deals when they passed us, but these two crews are neck and neck as they go past our commentary position. Imperial, warned for their steering early on, warned again, have now moved right away and over to the centre of the course, and they've probably just got ahead, but not very much in this. A really good race developing.
No, it's really all to play for in this race. It will certainly be a very interesting one to watch for the spectators on the side, as they've not had very much neck and neck racing today so far from what I've seen. But it's nice to see such a good competition, actually.
Well, they're clearly putting in an awful lot of work, and the fear is that if they try too hard, put down too much power, then the steering goes. So it's a fine balance between keeping the boat running nice and true, and it's Imperial, I think, that have just got their bow ahead as they go through the halfway mark.
Yeah, Imperial seem to just have got that slight leeway on it, just getting ahead there of Worcester. But if Worcester keep pushing on, then there is a chance for them to come through, and you never know. Their mistakes can be made and wobbles, and that Worcester need to really keep on top of watching what Imperial are doing so they can take advantage of anything that could go wrong for them.
Yeah, the next race has got underway. That's the final race of this batch championship. Pairs race 139, Tideway Sculler School A and Cambridge University Women. While we keep an eye on the Worcester Imperial race, top right hand of your screen, it looks like Imperial have now got themselves a lead over Worcester. Worcester been pretty desperate to hang on to the tail of Imperial, but Imperial now have moved ahead, and there's clear water in that race. And as you can see on the screen on the bottom left, Tideway Scullers have a lead.
Yeah, really pushed off in those in the first part of the race actually, which is important to get that head on that part there, because that means they can keep pushing and get further and further away, so then they can start to relax up the course. But I suspect that Cambridge University Women's will definitely be putting in a strong race on them, as the pair of Sarah Colotti and Rebecca Dell, they were both members of this year's boat race squad, so clearly very strong in that hugely competitive group of girls there. And they are a part of the Cambridge crew that won the championship quad at the Bucks Regatta. So again, I doubt that we won't be seeing a good race put in by the Cambridge University Women's, but as it does currently look, like Tideway Sculler School do seem to have that just extra bit of strength and technique on them.
And crossing the line to finish the race before it was Imperial College. They crossed the line ahead of Worcester. In this race it's Tideway Sculler School that have moved now to a couple of lengths ahead of Cambridge University Women, as Cambridge University Women, the Cambridge crew have moved off their station. They're now pretty much line abreast there in the middle of the, you don't see that very often. One crew following the other, the umpire just letting them get on with it really. I think Scullers have got a sufficient lead here that he's not worried too much about the clash.
It would be nice for Tideway Scullers to have that lead on them and to be able to know that you can go right in front of your other crew and that's not going to cause you an issue. It gives you a real sort of mentality that you've done it and that you can keep going and you're not under too much pressure at all when you're able to put yourself in that position. So I think Tideway Scullers will most certainly be very happy with that result as they continue to go forward in the race.
Yeah, we see them there approaching Upper Thames, and then they'll head down towards the Remnant Club and Chairman's Enclosure, and that's the last of the championship pairs, Tideway Sculler School. Next up we have, it's the turn of the juniors, and it's the junior coxed fours. That will be race number 140. Tideway Scholars School there closing this race, and bottom left it is